So one of the things that I told you guys out there in the audience multiple different times on this channel is that we have a supply and demand problem, in that the demand for evil white racism far exceeds the actual supply that is available to us. So in this particular story out of the state of South Carolina, a woman itching for racism to be leveled against her decided that she was going to be offended by the display of a skeleton, just like my buddy right back here at a local Chipotle. So she has decided to quit, call in the NAACP in order to fight back against this evil white racism, because how dare you, and I mean absolutely how dare you, dress up a skeleton in a Chipotle uniform, name the skeleton Vinny, and then have that skeleton on display at a Chipotle without thinking about how sensitive that would make a black person feel, because obviously this was a callback to the long history of evil white racism in the United States of America, where we used to hang plastic skeletons in fast food uniforms in order to intimidate those black people from working in our faux Mexican restaurants that are made by people from Seattle. I don't really know. Now, if that sounds ridiculous, if that sounds absurd, guess what? It's actually the story, and it's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel and my skeleton, which is not a racist dog whistle, over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
On Saturday morning, Kanisha Brown Spivey tells me she went to work as usual, but what she saw inside, she says, was unexpected and alarming. We do want to warn you, some might find the image disturbing.
So look, I love the local news media, I am supportive of the local news media, but for the fact that they would cover ridiculous stories like this, I would not have much to talk about. But the fact that this woman is actually making the case that the image that you guys are about to see is disturbing, it might actually traumatize you, is one of the most absurd things that you could possibly imagine. Again, it is a skeleton in a Chipotle uniform at a Chipotle. It's all white, just like this skeleton. It is in no way, shape, or form a racist dog whistle, and yes, the employee is an absolute idiot in every possible way for being offended by this, but of course we have a bunch of comments from their website in this graphic that they set up where I guess people are actually offended by this. Maybe they could be joking. I mean, I hope they're joking, but I guess they're that stupid. This is that ridiculous. This is that absurd. So what we need to do right now is actually read some of these comments, and I'm sorry, but yeah, we gotta take the time to break this whole thing down. So you have Marcus Tucker saying, "There's no way, shake my head," and then you have an emoji, and it says, "This needs more awareness, for real." And you have Jania Riley saying, "In the middle of February, 3 question marks, nowhere near Halloween, question mark, like, explain explicitly what the dark humor is, please, question mark, I'd ask for that." Then you have a comment with no name attached to it that says, "Y'all should follow up on the story and speak with the employee," and then you have LaTanya Spivery saying, "Lawsuit and stay on there," and then there's something censored. "Don't back down. Call the NAACP. This is disgusting. Shake my head." And then you have Pam Goss say, "Ain't no way. What's dark humor?" And then it's just cut off right there. So if you guys are unaware, if you guys are unfamiliar with people in the hood and with people in the ghetto, one of the obvious signs that you're dealing with somebody who is uneducated and unintelligent is that no matter the situation, you're always going to get as a response from them, "You should sue. You should sue. Get mad money, bro. You get mad money, bro. If you sue, you should sue. You get mad money, bro. If you sue, you should sue. Get mad money, bro. Get mad money. Get mad money. Get mad money. Get mad money, bro. Get mad money. Get mad money, bro."
Kanisha Brown Spivey says she showed up for work at Chipotle on South Commons Drive in the Surfside area and saw a skeleton hanging from its neck inside the restaurant.
Because as a black woman walking into a building and you see something hanging from the roof, the first thing your mind goes back to is slavery. The first thing your mind goes back to is slavery.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Sometimes I watch these videos after reading about the story for the first time as I'm reacting, and you just got a little bit of a taste of my initial reaction to this woman saying that the first thing that went through her mind when she saw this skeleton in a Chipotle restaurant was slavery. Slavery was the first thing that was on this woman's mind. She was very upset by it. She thought it was a racialized attack against her, and needless to say, that skeleton was no nowhere near as big boned as this woman right here. So in no way, shape, or form was Vinny meant to be her in any possible way. Again, it's just a skeleton. It's just like this guy right here. The fact that it was hanging, and they said it was hanging from its neck, it was suspended from its neck, not with a noose or anything of the sort, is absurd, ridiculous, asinine in every possible way. And apparently this woman quit. She should have been fired immediately. She should be named and shamed. Thank you, local news, for presenting her to us so we could see this idiocy for ourselves, because what this actually is not an image depicting slavery. It's actually a perfect example of both black fragility and black privilege, in that this woman saw something, immediately went to evil white racism in her stupid mind, and then suddenly the local news media picked up this story as if there was anything to actually discuss here. Again, this woman, idiot in every possible way, embarrassing. And again, this is what happens when you have a supply of racism that nowhere meets the demand. And now we're looking at skeletons. This skeleton, evil white racist dog whistle, my own skeleton, gotta be cut from the show because, oh my god, I don't want to offend the black peoples out there during Black History Month. Don't you know it's February right now, even though it's March? But don't you know that this may have happened during February, Black History Month? Hallowed be our name, Black History Month, February.
And the fact that it's still happening today in 2026, people are still being hung, and it's supposed to be taken as a joke, it's not funny.
And the fact that it's still happening today in 2026, people are still being hung. First of all, it's hanged. I mean, some people are hung, if you catch my drift, lady, but it's actually hanged. We've been over this, guys, even though I think it could be hung past tense or whatever. It's actually hanged in 2026, even though, again, it is not happening in 2026. There is nothing happening right here. There was a skeleton put up. Again, a skeleton for decoration is not evil white racism, and I know you might be watching this, whatever your name is, lady that I forgot, but I removed my skeleton right there just so you don't think that I'm actually trying to reinstitutionalize slavery a day or 2 days after Black History Month, because oh my god, February, hallowed be the name of thy month, February. You cannot in any possible way dress up a skeleton in a Chipotle uniform. That's absolutely horrific and terrible.
Brown Spivey says she faults the worker who hung it, also management for not taking accountability.
And all I got was a text message, "Are you done?" That's all I got.
So she says all she got was a text message reading, "Are you done?" And yeah, that is the appropriate response, along with, "Can you be fired now? Can you just go? Can you just pack up your crap and get the hell out of here?" Honestly, we're losing a lot of money with you taking a little bit of too much of the samples from our customers, eating them for yourself, and now you're complaining about somebody who is not packing on the weight, the skeleton, who's honestly hanging around and still performing as a much better employee than you. The fact that she wanted an apology and a statement from Chipotle about, oh my god, the evil white racism history is so offensive to you, how can we possibly make this up to you? You need Chipotle reparations. I don't know if you guys know this, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the whole point of slavery was to hang people in faux Mexican restaurants, and if we actually don't address that, our long history of that, then that's a big problem. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was like slavery in America, and it's still happening to this very day. And the example of it is that we had a skeleton, and that skeleton was hanging up there. Now, there's actually YouTube comments under this video indicating that they would actually move this skeleton around this particular Chipotle location, so it was an ongoing joke, and put it in a bunch of different funny positions, including instances where it ended up with his hand in a bag of chips, and the chips were placed where the skeleton's stomach would be. So yeah, the Chipotle ended up saying there was no racial motivation behind it, but of course, our employee, desperate for some kind of attention, has decided that she's going to be offended by it. And you know what? We're not pandering to woke. Woke is dead, so I'm putting Mr. Skeleton back on his chair right here. He is going to be looking at you guys, and you're going to have to deal with them, lady. Your offense is not considered in my decision on whether or not my skeleton is going to be in position right here. And how dare you, the audacity, the fragility for attempting to get him removed, because we who are the keepers of the skeletons, we will not yield to your demands for us to self-censor, even if you bring a dumbass woman from the NAACP, which, by the way, a dumbass woman from the NAACP is about to appear right now to explain why this is so terrible.
At some point in time, enough is enough. And what I will have to say to the CEO of Chipotle is what you perceive as being offensive may not be what I perceive as being offensive.
So I agree. At some point in time, we do have to say enough is enough. At some point in time, we do have to look at these race hustlers, at these race scammers, at these people who perpetuate race hoaxes in order to divide this nation and, of course, profit off of that division, that enough is enough. And then this woman has, again, the absolute audacity to think that she should be able to speak directly to the Chipotle CEO and tell that Chipotle CEO that what he finds offensive, what normal people and rational people understand to not be racially motivated at all whatsoever, never, and I mean absolutely ever, trumps what an ignorant black woman who decided to go out of her way to be offended by this decided that she feels about this particular incident. I mean, come on, guys. We just came off this whole issue at the BAFTAs with the Tourette's person, which, by the way, people are still going after that individual. They've now forced him into a third apology for his disability. They're now threatening to beat him up, and we're supposed to pretend that we should take this seriously. We're supposed to pretend that these feelings, even if they are legit, have somehow added any value to our society. No, absolutely not. Lady, get back to rolling a burrito and shut your stupid mouth. Don't drag out the NAACP representative to cry about this ridiculous, preposterous, not at all in any way, shape, or form instance of evil white racism.
Therefore, we must have sensitivity training to make sure we're all in tandem of what is offensive and what's not.
So this NAACP rep says that we need sensitivity training. We need to be trained to understand that black people are more sensitive and more fragile. And by the way, I don't believe this is true of black people as a whole. Most black people look at a skeleton in a Chipotle uniform at a Chipotle and don't think, oh my God, slavery. That's not where their mind goes. Most black people are normal, rational people. But you guys need to understand that the NAACP partners with nonprofits or sells directly themselves this very sensitivity training. So what she's saying is, you did a crime, you committed a sin, now you need to pay us, the church of evil white racism, in order to repent for your sins by giving us money for sensitivity training. And no, absolutely not. The response should be as follows.
Therefore, we must have sensitivity training.
No, we're not doing that. That's embarrassing.
Because it is, in fact, embarrassing. So again, I'll link the whole local news media segment in the description of this video for you to check it out for yourself. But one of the things that I found so absurd about this is that they ended up saying that South Carolina and Wyoming are the only states in the union without any hate crime legislation. And they actually asked this NAACP person if they think hate crime laws could actually have changed this, could have actually averted this absolute catastrophe right here. And I just want to point out that that is a stupid question. That is an embarrassingly dumb question. You should be embarrassed for asking it. And no, in no way, shape, or form should this be considered a hate crime, because it's not even remotely racist. And if you take this as a racist incident, you're an idiot. You should not have the right to vote. You should be deported to the ocean, honestly. I don't know what to do with you, but you have no way, shape, or form made it to the level where you could function in society. Maybe you shouldn't be deported to the ocean. Honestly, maybe you should be put in an institution where actual adults can take care of you, because you are obviously an embarrassment to yourself. And again, asking this question, which if you guys watch the segment, it is 100% there. They even made this graphic right here to show you that they did in fact ask that question. And we did in fact get a response from the top race hustler over at the NAACP in South Carolina.
I don't necessarily think less of these things would happen. However, there's more of a consequence that will come with it.
So she says she doesn't think less of these things would happen, which, by the way, since this was not a racial incident, I guess she's saying I don't think less than 0 of these things would happen because this was not a racial incident, but there would be consequences for these hoaxes. There would be consequences for these fake crimes. And then, if you can believe it, they actually cut back to the original woman. And I'll show you this freeze frame right here because, again, check out the local news reporting for yourself, linked in the description. And she's actually tearing up, allegedly. I don't know if I believe this, because she has 3 little boys and she can't believe that they're growing up back in slavery times. They've transported to olden times, and the time machine was in fact the Chipotle time machine, rated PG-13, in theaters near you.
It's not It does not mean anything. It's important for you to stand up for what you believe in and to stand up for yourself.
So that statement right there was wrong in every possible way. It definitely doesn't mean anything. You're not standing for anything important. And theoretically, I guess you're standing up for yourself in that you're trying to grift off of this, graft some money. You've teamed up with the NAACP to probably get a lawsuit and do a settlement, but you should not be rewarded a dime. And honestly, you should be charged for wasting the time of every single person involved in this particular case because you're an embarrassment. Now, the representative for the NAACP actually said that people need to be aware of their protections under the Civil Rights Act for these exact kind of scenarios. And to be clear, if the Civil Rights Act is set up for these scenarios, we should abolish that immediately. This was an embarrassing segment. This woman is an absolute doofus. This is in fact a race hoax, not even a good one, because you'd have to have an IQ below room temperature to find this to be racially offensive. And then for other people to get on board with this, again, compounds the absolute idiocy of this particular scenario. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in South Carolina. Till next time.